Mary, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
It's so
Happy to
good
be
to have
here.
you here.
Yeah, I'm excited about our conversation.
I am too. So, guys, I want to give you a little bit of a backstory. Mary and I met at CoachCon by accident in the elevator, and we very quickly became new best friends. And one of the things that we did when we were at CoachCon is we went to a breakout session where they were talking about AI. And the two of us were looking at each other, and we were blown away by how blown away everyone in the room was at what the presenters were talking about because we realized that that was all like so 1980s for us because we've been using AI in our business in ways that we didn't realize was so much further ahead than other people. And so we decided then and there, hey, maybe as two women running similar businesses, we both have, marketing agencies. We're both Canadian, we're both blonde, we're both quick starts, that maybe we should get together and do a series of conversations. So, this is the first of many conversations. I'm excited to do this with you.
Yes, this is so fun. And it's interesting when you don't think about your business from the outside looking in. And so when we go to this session, we think we're going to learn a lot. And there was some good stuff there. It was just really interesting how what was presented was groundbreaking for others. And we're using it in so many ways, and maybe other people are too, but just sharing what we're doing is a good way, between the two of us, and then also with others, an opportunity to learn by osmosis or whatever. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it also comes back to, the old expression that when there's a job posting, a woman won't apply unless she checks 100% on every
Mhm.
box, and a dude will apply if he only checks like three of the boxes and has like 20% of
Oh
the
yeah.
qualifications. And so I think sometimes as women, we don't realize how advanced we are in our knowledge
Yeah.
and or use of tools and applications. And so that session was a real eye opener for me
Yeah.
to just see, what we're doing. And then the other thing that I think is really cool is we both do similar work and there's
Mhm.
crossover in the work that we do, but we're collaborating and
Yes.
we're helping each other. I mean, you're going to share the show on your social channels and you're going to share it on your website, and I'm going to do the same thing. And we're not in this scarcity mindset of, oh, what if
Mhm.
she steals my business, right? We're really
Mhm.
being collaborative. And so I think it's important for women to see other women doing things like this. And guys,
Mhm.
if you're listening, I also want you to know we're not super prepared for these conversations. I mean, we have a rough outline with some bullet points, but Mary and I both agreed that we just wanted to come and have a conversation about this because we feel like you listening in on that conversation is probably just as valuable as the things that we want to talk about.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. When we met, we talked about our initial conversation was we both run agencies, but we run them in different markets, so we're not competitors. And I'm like, I don't want to have competitors anymore. I want to have collaborators. Is the world is big enough for all of us, and if we can help each other get better, and then that started our best friendhood, really.
I
Yeah.
know, I've even referred my fractional COO to you. Like, it's
Yes,
crazy,
we
right?
talked. Oh my gosh, we talked yesterday. She's
Yeah.
my second new favorite person. Second,
Yeah.
yeah, second favorite person.
Yeah. She can change your life. Just keep her in
Yeah,
number two and me in number one, right?
yeah, absolutely.
No
Don't worry
competition
about it.
there for being like the
Not at
most.
all. Not at all.
Okay, so this particular episode, we're just going to talk a little bit in general about how we're using AI, and then we're going to dive into a little bit more on some of the specific topics that we plan on discussing in other
Mhm.
shows. We're going to riff a little bit on how we feel AI is impacting the industry right now, specifically in marketing and for small businesses. We're going to talk a little bit about, human versus robot, and maybe a little bit about some trends that we're seeing with respect to adoption. And then I thought maybe we could just chat a bit about some fun facts because I've been experimenting with some fun things, and I'd love to hear the fun things that you're experimenting with too. How's that sound?
Let's do it.
All right. So let's just talk in generalities. How are you and your team using AI right now in your business?
Yeah. So, little bit of background. I think because we're a marketing agency and we're an idea company and we create stuff, we create content, we create visuals, we create all these things. I do think as an industry, there was a little bit of fear and maybe still exists in our creator space around don't let the AI steal what the humans do. So our team, which is, we have a small core team and then, a pretty extensive network of people we work with, have adopted AI at different levels. And there's some resistance. Like there's a little bit of AI snobbery out there. Well, it looks like AI created that. And I still think we deal with that, and AI is not perfect. But I would say the number one reason we use AI is as a thought partner brainstormer. We can create, it's amazing what we can ask AI to do that gets us from white page to something in seconds. And then all of a sudden you're iterating and you're asking your brain and your team to do the higher level thinking because you're not sort of um, anchored by the white page or trying to get something out. So for us, it would be that thematically comes to life in content ideas, but also personas for customer target groups, avatars for our clients. So creating, and this is sort of a laundry list. We'll probably want to go into them a bit more specifically, but and then personally, just as a business owner, for me, it literally is a brainstorming partner. And so if I have questions or I, want to bring something to life, an idea, it's a good way of creating a sounding board, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's pretty much it.
Yeah, we're doing
Yeah.
that too. We're also using it, of course, to record meetings. It makes it a lot
Mm,
easier to use like the meeting notes for follow-up action items and things like that. I think it was you that told me, make sure you say action item 4 when you're doing your meeting recording, because then it
yeah.
actually calls it out better in the note taking.
Yeah.
We're doing the same thing, brainstorming, coming up with different ideas and in partnership with AI. And I
Yeah.
think you're right. I mean, I had a meeting this week with my team, and every single person on the team, the focus of the meeting was AI. And everyone on the team, except for one person, has used AI. And the one person who hasn't used AI is my designer.
Yeah.
And he's got a little bit of that AI snobbery. And I get it, because people who are, especially people who are designers and they're very visually creative, I think it feels like probably a little bit threatening to their work, especially
Mhm.
those that are incredibly talented. And my one designer is just, he's remarkable, so I can see where he would be a little bit resistant to using
Yeah.
AI.
On that note, I have a dream because I would agree that we don't see it on the visual design side as much. And I think it would be so cool to get designers using AI because they're going to do a way better job than people who are trying to create visual assets without their level of skill set and capability. So, if, I'm a words person and a strategy person, if AI is helping me get to result faster, imagine what someone could create if they're using that as a tool.
Hmm.
Um, but it's true. It's true. It's hard to let go of the thing that your craft
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
And on the writing side, I had to do a little bit of that too. I see stuff written by AI. It's great for all those things and great ideas. And depending on the prompts, which we'll talk about at some point, if you put really good prompts in, you can get better results.
Hmm.
Um, but also some of the stuff where you have people just using AI to fully create your content platform. Um, other people can find that too with their own AI. So there are limitations, and it's not always the best writer, and it doesn't capture brand personality as well. Doesn't capture the human insight, the humanity part of it as well yet.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah. One way that
yeah.
I've seen some of my clients use it that's been helpful for us is when you are working on like a minimum viable product. You want to get something out quick and dirty and fast. You want to test it in the marketplace, and you don't want to spend a lot of time and money on it. So I have a client who is putting out kind of a new brand in the marketplace, but they're testing the brand. And so before we do all of the brand development work and logo design, she's just played with AI and come up with a logo that she kind of sort of likes. And now she's handing that logo over to our designer, and our designer is going to iterate on that logo, which means that we don't have to provide her with concept after concept after concept, which takes a lot of time. We can take the concept that she likes and we can improve upon it and make it our own so that it's not exactly the way it was generated. And I think that enables you to bring things to market faster. And I think
Oh
that's
yeah.
something that people, need to think about. One of the things that I always talk about in my business is something I call invitation marketing. I have a really, really big belief that if you can't sell an idea without a sales page, then you probably won't be able to sell it with a sales page. Because if you can't sell it just talking about it to someone or just writing about it, either on Facebook or via an email, without an actual landing page for people to click to buy, then the landing page isn't going to change the nuance and energy of the message. And so I feel like being able to do that proof of concept stuff fast in business is so
Yeah.
important. And AI helps you to do that. I'm working
Yeah.
on a new kind of business coaching, mastermind, pure performance type group for some of my clients for next year. And I was like, how can I write this faster? And so I just kind of went to AI and I'm like, I want a program that is this and this and this and this. And I started giving it all the context and it helped me come up with copy really, really
Yeah.
fast that I can now work with. So I do think
I
that
love that.
it enables
I also
speed.
totally enables speed, and I love your invitation marketing idea. I think about the opportunity to get out to people in that's even a half-baked way. That's
Mhm,
even a we're not going to put up this fancy sales page. We're going to legitimately ask the market what they're interested in and give them an idea and invite them in to
mhm,
participate in it. AI is working in a lot largely the same way. I've got an
mhm,
idea. It's not fully formed. Help me get it to something that's good enough to test, which
mhm.
I think is a great idea. Yeah. The
Yeah,
thing is, as a writer, AI will often create more words, like kind of break all the rules of the things that I've been editing out of people's work for a long, long time. Not to say that AI can't learn how not to do that. It's just you can see. So 0 to white page to something fast, great. And then let's look at it really critically and take that 10% of time. Like it's getting you 90% of the way. Well, actually, that's not true. 10% of the way there is your planning and your input.
mhm,
90% happens in seconds using the AI. And then the final 10% is you making it even better and really reflecting your voice and all that. But like we're talking about taking hours down to minutes, which is
mhm.
massive.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
um, on the thought about the team and the logo, I love that example. And some people might say, "Oh, geez, well, they're taking away all that work from us." But actually, we're taking away kind of the tough stuff, like you said, with logo development. You have to like create hundreds to get down to tens to get down to a few, and in a lot of ways, that's wasted work. That's
Totally.
right? And then so if you spend less time on the refinement, getting from good to great, and then that allows you time to do even more things to help actually have impact in the market versus all of this chugging just to get to a few select, which would be same for content and design too, like the
Mhm.
ad the ad sort of layout and all of that. You could totally do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we were playing around with it the other day. We got it to write a commercial for somebody. It was
Oh,
great.
is that right?
I mean,
Like
it
an
was a
ad, like
rough,
a
yeah,
TV
yeah,
ad? Oh,
yeah,
right on.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not perfect, but it's,
Yeah.
sometimes it's just that, like you say, the white page, it's just getting something. It's so much
Mhm.
easier to, I find it so much easier than to edit than create at times, especially when you're
Yeah.
starting. And so I think it's good. So I think some of the
I
things that we're
agree.
going to talk about in upcoming sessions is how we're actually using AI for our meeting support, and some of the kind of tools and strategies that are making AI note taking and action items and running of a meeting a little bit easier for people, follow up, things like that. We're going to talk more. We're going to dive into the idea generation. So, how to use it as a creative thinking partner. And I think when we get into the idea generation, that's where we should spend a lot of time talking about prompts and the art of creating a really good prompt. Because when it comes to AI, garbage in is garbage out. So
Yeah.
the less specific you are, the more fluffy, fairy stuff you're going to get out of AI. The more specific and the more context you can give, the better it's going to be. I think we
Right.
can,
And then you can also get down that rabbit hole too. Like if you with bad prompts, garbage in, garbage out, then you find yourself for hours, not hours,
yeah,
but a
yeah,
really long time trying to get AI to do something faster. And so you're negating the purpose. It would have been easier to write it yourself or create it yourself in that case. So Yeah,
Right.
that's a
It's
great
like you have to
topic.
think about the way you communicate with AI in the same way that you would communicate with a member of your team. Here's
Mhm.
what I need you to do. Here's the background information. Here's the context. Here's the outcome. Like if you actually took the time to consider your prompts like you were communicating with another human and you were more
Mhm.
thoughtful about it, you'd probably get better results from it.
Yeah, we have to kind of undo what we learned in the Google world of how to search for a search result versus
Hmm.
asking for the answer to a question or asking for AI to create something.
Hmm.
Um, because off I found in my own journey, I started entering questions like I would Google, and
Yeah,
it's just a completely different process. And it's only
100%.
with trial and error that you kind of learn that. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree. 100%. And then the other two things I think we can talk about is how we're using it to help us write. So, there's the idea generation, but then there's the writing aspect of it. And there's so much more than just, giving you the starter copy that you can use from a writing perspective to help people in business that I'd like to dive into. Things like creating process policies and procedures and process manuals and, taking documents that you already have and shrinking them or taking content you already have and creating social content. So I'm excited to talk about that. And then I think maybe we can dive into a little bit on the topic of customer service and how AI can actually help you serve your customers better. Anything else that you think we should add to that list for now? I'm sure there's going to be other things that come up. And guys, if you're listening, please know Mary and I have kind of loosely said we're going to do anywhere from, 4 to 6 of these. It could be
Yeah.
eight, it could be five, but we're just going to take this where it goes. And when we run out of things to talk about, we'll wrap up the series. But right now, we're very open. And so if you're listening and you have specific things you'd like to hear us talk about, then send us a message. You can send me a message on Instagram at Lisa Larter. You can email me, Lisa at Lisa Larter, and let us know, and we'll definitely incorporate that into our conversation.
Excellent. I think
All
that's a
right.
good that's a good yeah. It's a good starting point for sure.
So, let's talk a little bit about AI snobbery and what are your thoughts on how AI is impacting our industry and maybe small businesses as a whole? Because the research that I've read says that larger organizations are adopting AI at a much faster pace than small businesses with like less than
Mhm.
10 employees. And so I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on the impact it's having in the business. What do you see as the pros and what do you see as the possible risks to our industry?
Oh gosh, what a great question. Um, on the small business front, and large businesses are adopting it faster. I think business leaders recognize the need for efficiency. And even in a small business, you realize that we're running small, relatively small businesses, right? And we want to push for greater productivity. And how do we leverage all the tools that we want to leverage? I also think though in small businesses, you've got a handful of people who are kind of racing all day to deliver the thing that they need to deliver. And so stopping to learn how to do something differently is also it's like reprogramming. And so
Hmm.
you gotta have somebody who's passionate and like interested, whether it's your leader or it comes from inside a certain skill area. You've got to have that person who's curious and interested and wants to learn on one level. um, in the early days it did feel like, oh gosh, AI is going to take away all of our jobs. um, and the truth is, if AI eliminates some of the work, which is like we talked about, like the creating of 100 logos
Hmm.
or the 5 hours to create a pretty okay rough draft. If it eliminates that, absolutely, it takes hours out of the business that we're in, but it creates time to add more value where there's more value to be added.
Hmm.
So much of our business in marketing, I've been, in marketing agency life for more than 25 years. So much of us have been wired and the work has been wired around delivering the thing in a certain number of hours, and that keeps us profitable and all that. Well, let's shift the thinking to how can we add more value, because
Right.
we're not sort of up to our eyeballs in chugging away at that sort of the factory work of marketing in a lot of ways, right?
Hmm.
So I think those two concepts are important. So small businesses are busy and delivering what they've always promised, and so are they looking around to say what's the opportunity, and then how do I learn how to do that? And from a marketing perspective, we're kind of in this industry, and you let me know what you think on this, but we're challenged to do new things all the time. Like
Hmm.
we are supposed to be cutting edge, trying new things. There's something like 7,000 marketing technology platforms out in the world.
It's crazy.
And, I mean, I'm sure it's even more since I last saw that stat. There are more coming online all the time. So we're always sort of like, what's the next new thing? How can we do this differently? Oh, I want to jump on, like, I mean, who's not thinking about TikTok? And, they should have been thinking about it 2 years ago, that kind of thing. So we're, in a way, from a marketing services perspective, programmed to look for the new thing. So on
Hmm.
one level, I'm not surprised that you and I were in that session a while ago and we're like, oh, geez, we're already doing stuff like this. And as business owners, we're like, it's not enough. We want to learn more and we want to do more, right? So there's
Hmm.
that side of marketing. And then there's the side of we want to be precious and hold up the kind of craft of our work. We
Yes, I
want
agreed.
people to feel like what they do matters. And I believe from a marketing, like I believe communicators are making it possible for businesses to be successful. If you can't effectively communicate about what you do to to the right people at the right time and the right channel and all that, it's like you're invisible.
Hmm.
So it is a very specific and should be well respected craft.
Hmm.
And we have to use tools to help us get better, faster, cheaper,
Yeah.
all of those things.
I think that it reminds me a little bit of when social media first came out. And you had Facebook and Twitter and MySpace and all these things. And there were a lot of people that were like, oh, this is a fad. And you had other people that were jumping in. And I think there's just so many different AI tools that it's like thousands of them have come to market at the same time. And I think that it can create decision fatigue for people because they don't know what the best one is. So you and I were
Mhm.
having a conversation about note-taking apps. And we're like, we all started with, what was it, Otter.ai, and then it was
Oh
like
yeah.
Read.ai, and then it was, Fathom, and now it's Firefly. Like there's so many of them out there. And so for us, we're trying to chase and figure out what the best tool is. And I think, you and I are both quick starts. So we're curious. We want to try all these new things. And I think for a lot of
Mhm.
small businesses, they're probably like, I'm just going to wait until somebody figures out like who the
Yeah.
leader is in this, and then I'll look at it.
Yeah.
And I also think that there's all of these SaaS fees that come along with trying these things. So, I'm paying, what is it, $20 a month for ChatGPT, and then I'm paying $20 a month for Claude.ai, and I paid for Read.ai, and now I'm paying for Fathom. And so these things all
Oh
start
yeah.
to stack up. And the next thing you know, you've got all these tools that you're paying for at scale. And if you're buying it for you as a user, that's one thing. But if you're buying it for your entire team to use,
Oh yeah.
the cost of using these tools, while it seems small in the beginning, oh, it's $20, no big deal. But if you
Hmm.
have a team of 10, that's $20
Yeah.
times 10, that's $200 a month, that's $2,400 a year, and that's one tool. And if you have 10 tools, now all of a sudden it's 24,000 a year. And then if it's like anything else, when I started using Asana, it was cheap. Well, now that baby costs me almost $10,000 a year because
Yeah.
every year they're ratcheting the prices up. So it is actually creating, I think, a bit of, I think, a little bit of analysis paralysis for people in terms of tool
Hmm.
selection. And I think there's probably a bit of fear of not wanting to be left behind, and
Hmm.
also not wanting to just buy all this stuff to use that isn't actually going to create real value. So
Oh
I think
gosh. I
it's
mean,
it's
I don't know
interesting.
for you, like in the first time I used Otter, all of a sudden I sign up for our Otter. It's on my phone. It's showing up to meetings with me. I don't know how people are responding to having Otter there. And then, um, you know, then I mean, we're going to talk about this at some point too, but then we're having a conversation. Let's say we're having a sensitive conversation about something. And then all of a sudden your transcript shows up on the team filter or whatever, the team page. There's all these things that are happening that can make you a little nervous about it too, right?
100%.
Because there's
100%.
in the world of the PR work that we've done, and in the media training, we say there's never off the record. Well,
There's
now when we're
never,
in
never,
meetings,
never off the record.
never off the record, never off the record. You can even, yeah. So there's no place you can, to be really careful about what you say and which audience is going to hear it and all of that. So it's
100%.
intimidating too. Like, are these the right tools? Are they going to do the right thing? But are they going to interrupt in our case, we have clients, and if we're using Otter, well, what's Otter? Why are you recording me? I didn't, like
Hmm.
that stuff. You don't want it to interrupt your client experience either,
Hmm.
right?
And I
Yeah.
find that sometimes, even if you don't want it to record or you remove it from the room, it's still recording because you still get the
Yeah.
notes after. You might
Oh
not
yeah.
get that
Or if you
recording,
didn't
but you're
show
getting
up
the
to the
notes.
meeting. Yeah. If
Yeah,
I don't go to the meeting, my Fireflies person does. Like, thank you. And then I get
right,
the
right.
transcript.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely interesting. So let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about, our philosophy on human versus robot.
Mhm.
What when do you think it's got to be done by a person, and when do you think it can be human and AI assisted or just done through AI? Like, I feel like my perspective is, AI is a tool. It's like a hammer. It's not the solution. It's a tool to help the human optimize whatever they need help with. And if it's help with creativity, if it's help with note taking, if it's help with schedule management, whatever it is that the human needs help with, it can make things get done for a human faster. But I don't know that it will ever be able to take away from human judgment and creativity. AI isn't going to just ping me with an idea. I messaged a client of mine yesterday. I had an idea for him on how to, he's a leadership consultant, and he does these amazing, amazing experiences where you go to historic places, and he uses metaphors from history for leadership. And I
Oh,
was thinking
cool.
about his events, and I was like, oh, I have some ideas on how you could get more people to participate in your events. And so I texted him a few ideas, and he replied back to me. He's like, brilliant. I love this.
Yeah.
AI is never going to do that for you. AI is not going to build
No.
relationships, right?
No, I think about, I mean, I totally agree with your premise around AI being a tool to enable the human, and then, humans can focus on the things that uniquely humans can do. The example that I always use with clients is, you know, the world of information exists already. If you can input it into an AI tool and you get something back, there's not a heck of a lot of value in that because anybody can get it. And, in the world of, businesses that are trying to solve a problem in the world with their customers, and they need to connect. So
Mhm.
information isn't the same as connection and communication. And so,
Right.
you can't use it to replace. I mean, we had a client that was using it to, like, create uh their, like, culture book. And, like, okay, well, maybe in terms of structure and what you need here and there, but you might need people to reflect your culture in some way. So it's like, can it get you part of the way there? Sure, but the world needs your insight, your wisdom, and your voice.
Yes.
And not like, if I can go into AI and find the answer, then that's a good indication that there's not a heck of a lot of value in that answer. So
Yeah.
take the answer, provide a perspective to it, make it yours, connect with the people you need to connect with. I mean, a future state where we're all using AI to create our content for us is kind of a bleak state from my perspective, because you don't have,
No
like, it is the
creativity.
human we want to connect with, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
For sure. I think
yeah.
it's really figuring out ways that it can enable you to do the things you're great at faster,
Yeah.
so that you don't have to waste time. So let's talk about fun ways we're using AI. So I'm going to go
Hmm.
first. I'm going to share one fun thing that I did last week, and in terms of saving myself time and energy that took like
Ah,
literally 10 seconds. I had some of my team here in Georgia visiting, and on Thursday afternoon, we were going to go visit a couple of wineries. So there were four wineries that I wanted to take them to. So I went to my trusty little AI robot, and I said, I'm leaving from this address and I'm coming back to this address, and I want to visit these four wineries. Could you please plan the route for
mm.
me in the most efficient way? Because I'm not super familiar with the area. And within seconds, it comes back and it's like, okay, when you leave, you need to go here first, then here, then here, then here. And that will loop you back in the most efficient way. And then it's like, oh, and by the way, if you're going to wineries, make sure that you have a designated driver. Like, it was like all this extra stuff.
I
But
love it.
it made just the planning of the trip. Whereas I would have been like, okay, where's this one? Where's this one? Okay, where's this on the map? How do
Yeah,
I like, that's totally not my zone of genius. And it made me planning out our route like instantaneous and effortless. So I don't
and
have to
fun.
waste time on that. Yeah. What
Yeah.
about you?
Well, we
What's a
did
fun way?
something. Well, we did something similar. We were in Prince Edward Island. We took our family, our two teenage kids, drove out there, and the kids love this country music festival that's out there every year. Um, I don't know much about Prince Edward Island, and it's a 3-day country music festival. And so I could have, and there's tons, thousands of people go to this. So there's all kinds of information in the world on how to do it well. And so you could Google how to do the country music festival well, or going into AI and saying, what are tips for how to do this well if you are, a mother of teenagers and, moderately unexcited about porta potties and things like that. So we end up getting all of these tips about when to show up. And I missed it this year, but it also told us about like a premium general admission. So if I ever go to it again, I won't have to use the porta potties. So it gives you kind of the plan of attack that it sort of aggregates all the thousands of people who've been talking about it for years. So
Awesome.
that's one fun way. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I use it in other ways, like content creation, which is also fun
No,
because I have an
personal,
idea.
personal, not
Oh, okay,
business,
okay,
personal. Come on.
personal. Okay, well that would be
Okay,
my
so I'll
one,
tell
I
you
think.
another
Yeah.
one that I did
Okay.
lately, which got me rave reviews after dinner. So I had like, I don't know, three ingredients to work with in the fridge because I had to go grocery
Mhm.
shopping and I wanted to make something for dinner and I didn't want to have to go into town and it needed to be gluten free. And so I kind of typed into AI, here's what I have in the fridge, what can I make?
Mhm.
And then, it needs to be gluten free. And then it gave me some options and I iterated until I had a recipe that was great. And so I made
Yeah.
this thing for dinner. I don't even remember what it was now. I have to go back and look. And my husband was like, wow, this is really good. Where did you come up with this idea? I'm like, AI. So it was like
Yeah.
instead of me trying to search recipe after recipe after recipe online, I just let
Yeah.
AI do the work. Like I was like, I have this, and this, and to go with it,
Mhm.
I've got, rice or I've got pasta or I've got this or I've got that. Like I want it to be low carb, it's got to be gluten free. Like give me some options. And it gave
Yeah.
me wonderful options, which made it super easy. I've also done the same thing for meal planning.
I was
Give
just
me
gonna
a
say,
meal plan
yeah.
for the week. I want to cook X amount of chicken. What can I use it for? Like,
Yeah.
and it will literally give you a great meal plan. And you can
That's
tell it particular things like make it low carb, make it keto, make it gluten free,
yeah.
and it literally does
I'm
all that work
counting
for you.
I go through a process of counting every once in a while. I'll count macros. And
Hmm.
so it's kind of tough, like especially trying to get more protein into my diet and all of that. And so you run out of ways. It's like, okay, well eat a chicken breast every meal because that's kind of the
Right.
way you're going to get in. So that would be a great way to make sure you can get variety in your life and then also fit to your standards, like needs to be gluten free, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. That's a
Yeah, and
great
even
idea.
portion size. How much chicken do
Yeah.
I need to eat? How many days, eat at each
Yeah.
meal in order to get the number of macros that I need? So
Yeah.
I think that's fun. Another fun thing that I might do, or I might get my assistant to do this year, is I hate Christmas shopping. It's just like
Mm,
for my nieces and nephews, and it's probably because I'm not a mom. I don't know what to
right.
buy them. Like I'm
I
not,
don't know what
I'm
to buy
not
mine either, and
cool.
I have kids, so
Yeah. So I think that I could use AI to
yeah.
like I have, three nieces and this is how old each of them is, and I have four nephews and this is how old they are. And could you please give me three examples of cool, fun gifts?
Hmm.
They're athletic, they're this, they're that, and I bet you it would come up with some really cool stuff.
I bet you're right. I used to, and now I think back to all the times that I've Googled that, and you get the websites that are like the top 20 gifts for, and you're searching. So, Google changed our lives in so many ways. It made it so much easier. But like I'll say to clients all the time, if you just put your information on your website, you're creating another problem for your customer, which is trying to sort out and which one is right for them and making all the choices and stuff. And so, that's at play there too. I don't really want to look at 27 websites
Yeah.
and 14 different media channels that talk about the top gifts. That's a great one. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, I'll have to think about that. When I go to dinner parties, I'm always wondering what to bring. And I
Mm.
don't want to always bring the bottle of wine or what, because that's kind of like I want something that's a little bit more personal. So I think that would be a good one to look at. What's an appropriate host gift for somebody who is XYZ, lives
Yeah.
here, likes whatever, and you get some good results back. Yeah.
Yeah. Or what kind of
You know what I'm gonna do
appetizer
this
could I
weekend?
make?
Oh yeah, and this weekend I'm going camping with my whole extended family. So our parents, my sisters, their kids, my brother, everything. And it's going to be hot and it's going to be humid. So when we get off of this, I'm going to search. I'm going to ask how. to spend time on a really hot, humid, rainy weekend camping with 16 of your family members who
Mhm.
range from this age to that age and see what they say.
Okay, so last question, and we're going to wrap this session up. Um, what what AI tool do you use the most? Are you using
Mhm.
Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude.ai? Like, which one is your favorite and why?
So interesting to ask this. We were just going through this in our conversation last week. So I was one of those people that was kind of waiting for because we're on the Google Work Suite. So
Hmm.
I was waiting for Google to come up with a solution, and I have this sort of brand loyalty and confidence that when Google does something, they're going to do it really well. So we signed up with Gemini. We signed up for our team, so $20 a month, and so I use it when I'm on my desktop. I like it. Um, it saves searches just like all of them do, and so you can go back to and refine and refine and refine. So like, it has kind of everything I need that way. And then what's funny though is on my phone, I have Perplexity, and somebody recommended Perplexity to me in a strategic coach session. And just because it's there and I'm used to it, I use Perplexity on my phone. And then you and I talked about Claude, and then I'm like, here I am, the quick start, and I want to try all the new things. I'm like, well, what's so good about Claude? Why, what am I missing? So we went through that. So for me, it's really just the ones I started using. Now, I have a client, I was telling you last week about it, but I have a client who's using Chat GPT, the app, to brainstorm while driving. And
Hmm.
so like they're like literally talking to each other through Bluetooth, and they'll iterate, and then we're on a call the next day and he pulls up the chat, and he's saying, "Remember we were talking last night and I'd like to refine that message," and then out it comes. So
So cool.
I'm curious about that too, because wouldn't that be a good way to spend time? You could just see me talking to myself walking in the neighborhood while I brainstorm with my chat GPT friends.
Yeah, yeah. I am
Yeah.
using Claude.ai a lot, and I have just found that the responses that I get resonate with me more than the responses that I was getting from ChatGPT. I still have a ChatGPT account, but I find
Yeah.
myself going to Claude. The other thing I find about Claude.ai is aesthetically, I like
Mm.
the user experience. It
Yeah.
just feels a little bit more elevated to me. It doesn't feel so harsh to look at. It's
Yeah.
kind of a nice muted color. And you can probably change the background and screens on ChatGPT, but I just find it feels a little bit nicer
Yeah.
to me. So that's the one that I tend to use. I do have Perplexity on my phone too. And I like that
Hmm.
Perplexity gives you all the links, like it gives you the
Hmm.
citations of where
Yeah.
information comes from. Whereas today I asked Claude AI to give me citations on something and it said it couldn't. So I
Mm.
thought that was interesting. But there you go again. It's like the nuances between all of them. So if you're
Right.
listening to this, I would recommend you pick one and get to know it well before you jump and buy another one and stick with it long enough. I feel like what's happening right
Yeah.
now is you buy one and then another one has a new feature that the first one doesn't have yet. So then you jump to the next one, but now you're paying for two. And then then the first one ends up getting the feature, but you just had to like wait a day or two for it to happen. And
Yeah.
so I think that like with anything, you should become a subject matter expert in using one of these tools before you start to do more.
Yeah, and then also with your team as well, like, because
Yeah,
then we're all using the Gemini one. And so as we're learning different things, different prompts, different responses, we're able to share that across our
yeah,
team a little bit easier.
for
But then I
sure.
wonder, like, some of the free versions you could sort of test out with low risk as well,
Yes.
right? I mean, they're
Mhm.
not going to have all the features and probably the bells and whistles you're searching for, but at least it's a way of what feels more comfortable, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this
Cool.
has been a great conversation. So, the next
Yeah.
conversation that we're going to have, guys, you're going to want to listen again next week, is we are going to talk about meeting support. We're going to talk about, we're going to go deeper into tools for meeting notes online, in person. We're going to talk about the mindset of always being recorded. I mean, nothing is
Mhm.
ever off the record. We're going to talk about, ways to gather action items and how to go from all of this AI generated information to actual execution so that you can get things done. Because I feel like, I don't know about you, Mary, but I feel like my inbox is inundated with transcriptions from meetings and I'm not really good at going back to them. So I want to have a conversation about, we're capturing all of this information.
Yeah.
How are we actually using the information to get us into motion and do things? So that's what we're going to
Instead
talk
of
about.
into paralysis. I love that
Yes.
because
Yeah,
you could spend your days reading transcripts and doing nothing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Good one.
So thanks for listening. Quick reminder, Mary and I are thinking about doing a full day workshop together where we roll up our sleeves and show you in person how to do some of this stuff. And so we are kind of testing the market interest through this series of conversations. If you're listening and thinking, oh man, I'd love to be in a room with you guys, seeing some of these tools up on the wall with my computer, learning how to do some of this stuff, learning how to write better prompts, learning how to, incorporate this into my small business, then feel free to send me a message, lisa@lisalarter.com, and say, send me the workshop info, and we will let you know more about that. If we have enough interest, then we're going to pull something together. But if there's no interest, then we're not going to do it. So if this is something that's interesting to you and you would like to spend time with us, let us know. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Mary, for being here. And
Thank you.
we will see you guys on the next edition of She Talks Business. Thanks for listening.